So it says he drove the man out east of the Garden of Eden. And then he stationed cherubim at the entrance of the garden to guard the tree of life. And then in the next verse in chapter 4, because there was originally no chapter divisions, the man knew his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to a son. If you go fast forward to after Cain's sin, he curses Cain from the ground. With Adam, he says, "Cursed is the ground because of you." Here he says, "Cursed are you from the ground." So there is kind of a reversal there as well.
It's not so much a reversal as it is a combining. If you go back to Genesis 3, him talking to Adam says, "Where are you?" He talks to the woman and says, "What have you done?" And then when he talks to the serpent, he says, "Because you did this, cursed are you." And then he talks to the man and says, "Because you listened to your wife, cursed is the ground." In Cain, you have a son of Adam joining the seed of the serpent. And so the curse upon the ground and the curse upon the serpent are coming together in him. So whenever he turns to Cain, he says, "Cursed are you from the ground." So it's actually the curse upon the serpent and the curse upon the ground coming together in Cain.
He basically tells him a similar thing to Adam, where he says that the earth will no longer yield its strength to you. Basically, he ends up driving Cain east of Eden. So not just east of the Garden of Eden, but east of Eden. Cain is worried that someone's going to kill him. And so God puts a sign for Cain so that no one will kill him. Then it says he went out of the presence of God, went east of Eden. And then the very next verse, Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to a son. So if you compare the two stories, you have two instances of sin with an encounter where God approaches the person, a story of exile going east of Eden. And there's also something being protected.
Well, and then even after the protection, you have the man knowing his wife and producing a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot that part too. And I think what's probably the most interesting there is the object of protection. With Adam, they were driven east of the garden, but God protects the garden, and specifically he guards the way to the tree of life. Cain is driven east of Eden. So you have the Garden of Eden, which is like the Holy of Holies essentially. They get kicked out to like the more outside area.
Well, especially if you're reading this from an ancient Israelite perspective. At the time they're receiving Genesis, according to the tradition, they've already built the tabernacle. They are camped around the tabernacle. The entrance to the tabernacle is in the east. The idea of them being in the Garden of Eden and then being exiled to the east, they're moving from the Holy of Holies to the holy place, right? Just the general space in the tabernacle. Mm-hmm. And then now he's getting kicked out of even Eden, and he's going east of Eden. Well, now he's in the courtyard. The idea is that he's just getting further and further from the presence of God.
You'll notice, even though Cain pretty obviously did something worse than Adam, not only did he do something stronger, but he also responded worse. God specifically protects Cain. I think that's interesting. In the story difference, you have God protecting the garden, this one site that's like the most holy site. Whereas when he protects Cain, Cain is going to, as he says, wander the earth. I do think that's interesting.